Okay, so Erin and I have just jumped on Zoom because we like to catch up with each other, and this is significant, and we want to share it with you who are listening because we love you, because we are an extension of you, and we are journeying together with you. And we want to invite you into a private chit chat between us girlfriends.
Yes, and we love new friends. And there are so many new friends, and it makes us so happy.
Oh my gosh, Erin today, my client today, honestly, I think I want to cry. My love for her. Oh, there are angels walking on this planet and they don't even know how special they are. And it just humbles me to see someone who is so balanced, so neutral, so profound, so humble, so everything we've always wanted in a friend and a family member, and more, 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 more. She is so incredible, and I actually was hanging to speak to her more, and she had to go. And so it was like, no, wait, friend. Like, now I've finally found you. Never leave me. Like, I want to chat for you forever. And I just feel so humbled and privileged to be able to meet such incredible people. This gives me so much joy, and yeah, just it gives me. Honestly, like, I just want to cry, and just with pride and with, like, I have so much incredible feelings of just gratitude for these people being here of profound service. And just when I sort of question, like, who's listening to this still, who's still resonating with this information still, and then to have the utter privilege to meet individuals who have been on this journey with us and just feel into the energy. And I mean, Christmas has come to my house, like literally come to my soul essence. We um felt very festive today, and so brought out the Christmas tree, and it's brought back so much memories for me. Not just like the old ornaments, but the fact that in my household I wasn't in the celebration of a festive mood because I was super confused after working so hard and so diligently trying to figure out why we were getting all this big information and this really full on information plus a date last year, and preparing myself emotionally and mentally for the shift last year, and for it to be delayed and to have not really prepared much for Christmas. I asked every single which way how it was going to unfold, if, when, why. I questioned the bejesus out of it. And yeah, so Erin just asked me, what was it like preparing for Christmas last year, or what was even Christmas like? Because beautifully, Erin was snoozing in her 3D.
Oh yeah, like a rock. Yep. I was still watching like 3 hours worth of makeup videos a day and doing Pilates. So
Oh, bless you. Um,
yeah, COVID, great.
well, the thing is that even though you were sleeping this time last year and Christmas last year, you probably still were at service, because you probably weren't being part of the problem and drawing heaps of energy off the collectives and freaking yourself out. And, you know, or I don't know, like, what were you doing this time last year preparing for Christmas and Thanksgiving?
Mm. Oh, I was a hot mess. Yeah, I mean, I probably was. I don't know. I was unaware there were collectives. So I don't know what I was doing. I was just being an anxious little ball of disaster running around. Very well accomplished ball of anxiety, but getting a lot done, but very anxious while doing it.
Okay. Um, Interesting time last year. Interesting time. And so to see my 5 year old so excited about discovering Christmas ornaments, they don't even remember, because we had them out when they were three, and we didn't have them out last year. I just was in this numb state of confusion and
Mm.
responsibility and a whole lot of range of emotions. I certainly did not know how to have like that inner peace that I have now. So yeah, it was just interesting, and oh my gosh, had a really like I just finished this incredible session with this incredible person. Like I'm not exaggerating, full gift to humanity beyond. Um, and I was collecting some of the ornaments, and the kids were all excited because this is the first time they've ever really recalled them. They don't really remember these ornaments that are sort of our family heirlooms. And I love Christmas, even though I've not really respected sweet baby Jesus before, really. And we've come on this journey together, and I've got to meet him energetically and being with him in some significant moments in his life through this work. And I wanna reflect on that because he is really one man, and we are all on the same par as him. We all could achieve the same as him. We all could have that connection to our consciousness and be responsible and considerate and caring and compassionate to all. It's completely attainable, and it's a really different perspective. Anyway, I got this. I am cheap. I am like cheaper than cheap. I'm cheap. And so when I see like Christmas ornaments that are on sale like in January, I'm like, I'm getting me all of them. And so so I have quite a collection of Christmas ornaments. Plus, when I was doing lots of pottery, I was making heaps of Christmas ornaments too. And so I pretty much sure, Erin, if I had to line up all of my Christmas ornaments in a line from my house, I could probably find your house.
Awesome.
Bags and bags and bags and bags and bags of it. And it's really funny because when I met my partner, over like 13, 14 years ago, he wasn't, I mean, it's not a religious, comes from a religious family, and they celebrate Christmas differently because he's Swedish. And so they had a completely different family history routine. And so, I mean, I loved my Christmas tree so much that one year we kept it up until July. I'm not joking. And we lived.
Oh my goodness.
It was just perfection. And as I was watching my children putting on all these Christmas decorations and being so excited, and we had Christmas music going. I mean, it's still November, people. So like,
We're not judging you. It's not July. All right. We'll judge it then.
Yeah. And so, anyway, I just love the
Sweet.
lights and the excitement of Christmas. So yeah, fully materialistic. So anyway, so I had lots of unopened Christmas ornaments from when I was super cheap and buying stuff at ridiculous big sales. So there was this one that actually made me stop and really just have a moment, which was believe in the magic of Christmas, and I just or something like that, and I feel like I didn't even see it before ever. I had to open it up, and it was like, oh, you're new, and it was just a really sweet moment. And I looked at the full tree and how it's been like assembled, and I want to say with pride that I've done so much inner work that my OCD with how a Christmas tree should be decorated by me, I'm completely balanced and neutral, that it looks like a hot mess. It has no,
Oh wow.
it has no rhythm, it has no rhyme, it has no balance, it has no decor, it looks like a Jackson Pollock, whereas I quite like it's a
Artistic expression. That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. So anyway, it was just a
So lots of emotions then. I mean, if I had to reflect back on last Christmas, whoa. And knowing what you know or knew, what you had gone through, yikes.
yeah. And so now what I'm looking at, just in terms of information, more and more people are aware of the term New Earth, even if they think it's here. they still are more aware that there is, a new earth and there is a new concept there. And more people are aware of a fifth dimension, even if they think it's still here. More people are having this conversation, and it's turning into a new form of language. Of course, when you have trendy new statements, the interpretation of what it actually is versus the reality can be, different, a different interpretation, and that's completely fine. I used to get really bothered when people were trying to tell me about how they're in the fifth dimension, and they're talking to me now, and I'm like, well, I know I'm in the third dimension, so how can you be talking to me in a fifth dimension when I'm in the third dimension? It doesn't even make sense in a physical level, let alone metaphysically or physically, and physics. So
love and light.
Oh gosh, I know. And this is the thing that we noticed as well. I think a lot of people, when they learned their spirituality, were basically told, don't be that asshole who judges. Don't, just love everyone completely, and just allow people to treat you like shit because you love them, and like there is this, the old school method that I am understanding from clients who are telling me their spiritual journey was, when they learnt about this, they had to just overlook everything, don't bring anything up that is the elephant in the room, just love and light. Blindly love and light. And so it kind of was not, it didn't engage with people. It didn't actually hold people accountable for bad behavior. So, which is, that sounds judgmental, bad behavior, but it's more like disinformation. And so if you're an influencer and you haven't done any of your inner work, but you think you're channeling, the chances are you're just channeling your ego, which is disinformation. But no one wanted to call them out for that. And so many people just accepted influencers to say what they wanted, and no one really had them responsible for questioning, actually, are you sure about X, Y, and Z? And there's so much to say about the spiritual journey and how spirituality has evolved. And I think a lot of people should have stood up to their spiritual and religious leaders who were actually not serving their followers and not servicing their congregation in a really empowering way. And I think this is how we've kind of got stuck where we are, where we sort of like to look the other way when there is bad behavior, and there is disempowerment, and no one really wants to stand up to something that's kind of obviously disempowering people, or not the truth. Going to hell really isn't a good example. So many people are afraid that if they've ever done one sin, they're now forever doomed, that their God's going to punish them forever. And from what I understand with the human experiences, there is no punishment. It is lessons and experiences. And if you're trying to control the masses by telling them that they've doomed their souls for eternity, how is that to inspire them to be better? You've already condemned them. Now they're just going to give up and feel like it's all useless. They might as well just keep on doing what they're doing, because they can't ever get redemption.
Yeah, that was a big glaring one for me when I woke up. I was like, wait a minute, religion actually does not do anything to promote their people's like independence and like going within and enlightenment, and like none of that is a priority. That's a big problem for me. So I was like, I'm out. Bye.
Yeah. When I was doing my religion degree, I was really curious about how each religion dealt with the afterlife, and how what they were trying to tell people, what was happening. And I found that really, really, really interesting. It's just, again, peer pressure, it's manipulation, it is fear. And if you're being controlled to do something by fear, you know, you can't really be doing it with your best and higher frequency and integrity and intent. It's got a different agenda to it, so it can't be of a higher frequency, because if you're afraid of something, that's always going to be the imprint, is the fear versus the empowerment of love and having that as a higher frequency.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you about
Definitely.
I want to tell you about my client I had the other day. They don't listen to these sessions, so and I'm not going to name names, but oh my goodness, she had quite a few different lifetimes. That was like she bunny hopped, so each scene was a different life in a different way of experiencing certain things. So it was quite cool. So normally you'd sort of like journey one whole life and then go to maybe another life after they've experienced that first lifetime's death scene and blah 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 blah. And this was just bunny hopping from one scene to another scene that was like really obviously different. And one of her lives where she was in Egypt and she was like a 30-year-old man, and you know, having to go somewhere, and it was like, oh, where are you going? And it was like, ugh, I've got to go and pray. Someone told me I have to pray, and I just go and I just do fake praying. And I was like, I kind of like chuckled. It was like, oh man, like you do this every day and you get told to do it. And so they just saw it as fake praying. You know, this is what I do now. I do some fake praying, and then, you know, I'm just following the routine. And it was interesting because what they were recalling in Egypt was just all the sand everywhere, and it was just super dusty, and their big pressure is, you know, they were really busy, and then they just had to do this fake praying, and it kind of just bothered him. And then this other scene, again, a different lifetime in Egypt, very, very significant lifetime in Egypt, incredibly significant. And so when she was experiencing that lifetime, when she was a very significant person in Egypt, you know, here we are thinking, oh my gosh, like, wow, you're a huge person in history. And it was so like intriguing to hear what she was experiencing. Here I would have been assuming, oh my gosh, you're living the life of luxury and it's fantastic and you've got all this fame and all this attention, blah 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 blah. And it was so interesting to hear the complaints. Sitting there, being an icon, being a symbol, on a cold seat, and having to be still while all these people come and pray and worship you. And it was so boring. And she's like, I just hate it. No one gets to hear what I think and feel. I'm just this symbol. I want to go swimming. And it was like, whoa, like here we are assuming that these people are living their fantasies, living out their best lives, being these really big iconic people, and yet they've still got their own problems. They're not being heard. They're having to play this role. They're doing these jobs that they don't really love but have to because it's expected of them. And what she did was something pretty drastic. She walked away from the marriage and that role, and it was a pretty big deal. And so even in history, it's kind of like she had some missing years in her history. When I looked back and researched a little bit more about actually who she was, it was making so much sense of what had actually gone on in that life experience. And it just sort of dawned on me, doesn't matter who you are in history, even the people that we think have got, you know, so much control and power, they're really just one figure, and there is like their influences, their friends, their families, their co-workers, their you know, the people that they look up to. You know, everyone's always impacted by other people. And it was really interesting just to sort of stop and think, gosh, it doesn't matter how or who you are and who you have been. We still have very much 3D lives in terms of the dramas and the challenges and the relationships, and it's all just the same emotions and the same wants to have, you know, profound love and profound respect, and be able to have a freedom of a life that you choose. And of course, we all know from these sessions that we have our life contracts and we plan our lives for those lessons. But it's so intriguing. We're all really trying to have the same sort of outcome, having the same experiences, wanting the same lessons to learn from. And it just was interesting. Maybe I'm slow, but it just dawned on me.
No, and I'm just not thinking nothing's changed at all since then. It's the same thing. It is the same wants. It like to be free, to make our own choices, right? To have a prosperous life for our children. It's all the same. Nothing's changed in all these thousands of years.
And so her and her husband were a big deal in Egypt because they were wanting their people to stop following and worshipping gods. And they wanted people to worship the sun, which is ultimately worshipping the light, ultimately worshipping source, ultimately worshipping the collectives, but not worshipping as we would know worshipping. It's more like connect in with the teams, connect in with your collectives, connect into light, to higher frequency, and to stop having these influences. And ironically, which I thought was really interesting, her husband, who was teaching this as well, they had a religious revolution that their leadership and for their people, they were wanting to revolutionize religion even then, to be able to go within, connect into your own light, to connect into the light of the sun, and stop worshipping these people and these influences and these people who have their own agendas. And as we know, many came here to help humanity, and they got so ego-based and became instant demigods, and they were so distracted, and their egos were so filled with so many people like giving them attention and supporting them and being amazed by their their skill sets of manipulating energy, and it must have looked so impressive to just humans who had not experienced otherworldly beings coming in and showing their influence. And so it was just so intriguing, having this insight. Of course, when I rush off all excited to go and look and research it, you sort of know that what I can find on Wikipedia, for example, probably isn't going to be exactly how it truly happened. It's like, can you imagine having a really significant lifetime in history, and then through Chinese whispers, you have a Wikipedia page that may have something that's a little bit misinterpreted.
Yeah, I bet the entire thing is misinterpreted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to hear the full story.
Yeah, and so
of everything.
Yeah, and I remember you saying this is a practitioner's dream to have these. But the thing is, every life is really significant, and it is about figuring out the purpose and lessons for those clients. And you asked me, like, who else have I had that's of notoriety in other lifetimes, and I just sort of had to stop and think, they're all very significant and very purposeful, every single one of them, even if it is a farmer, like it has got beautiful lessons there, beautiful experiences, beautiful significances of what they learned in that lesson in life, and why they have chosen a certain different life it's like a complementary thing, or it's to expand on something that wasn't quite mastered. And I was just thinking about who in history have I had the privilege of listening to through a reincarnation. And I remember really early on, probably like my first 20 sessions, this client who'd never really heard about this, I actually kind of peer pressured her into it. It was a friend. And yeah, it was like because I was really into pottery, and I was making heaps of pottery, and I was supporting heaps of other businesses, and we were doing like a collaboration. And so I was like, hey, I'm trying to do this other thing, if you don't mind. It's a little bit woo-woo, I'd sort of say. And she was totally open to it. It was so fantastic. And I learned so much from her session. And I actually learned the very first time to ask for love from someone who had tried to destroy her life. And I had to get over my own like judgment and hatred for him, because she had shared with me her life story and how this one man had pretty much tried to destroy her, and he was really close in succeeding. And it just I was like, like I was, immature, and I wanted justice, and I was like, Lexus, go and key his car, like, I was
like, where's your manager?
yeah, I was totally like, how can I get him for her, because I was so, it was, oh my gosh, I learned and healed from my own personal stuff so much through that session. And what I had to do for the very first time, as I was trying to figure out why they wanted this experience in this lifetime, I had to ask for him to be healed and given love. And I paused. I did not want to give him love. I wanted to hate him as much as for what he had done to my client. And I realized I can't have judgment here. I actually have to be so damn neutral and be able to ask why. Why has this happened to her in this lifetime? Because it's nearly destroyed her. And it was like this moment where I realized I actually need to ask for help from his team to support him, because he's in a really, like, the subconscious was like, oh, he's in a really dark place. This is why he is doing all this horrible stuff to her. And I had to have this moment of compassion, and I didn't want to. And I honestly was like, what the F am I doing here? I actually need to be of service to not only help her, my client, my beautiful client, but I actually had to really think strategically. I can't even say it. I had to be thinking outside of the box. If I could help him in that session, he's going to actually heal and be able to then just kind of get over himself and stop being this horrible monster to her. And I realized that I could, like, I had to ask the subconscious to come in, and it was a really huge session for me. Pivotally, I really could see, now that we understood that this was a life contract that they had together, but he's going way overboard and he needs healing, to ask for his subconscious to come into a session to get healing for him was huge. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about this, because what I actually brought up for that session of that client was, she was a huge movie star back in the 20s or something like that, and it was, she had this massive glamour life, and her husband in that lifetime, there was a lot of problems there. It was quite traumatic, and it was really interesting because she was a big deal, super famous, and really alone, like profoundly alone. And like the whole world knew her, and yet she was alone. And it was a really, really, really interesting insight into that. Yeah, these sessions are incredible. I'm sorry, I don't know why I've gone onto a tangent, but it was like, again, she's a superstar, she's rich, she's got everything, the world's, at her feet kind of thing, and yet her personal life is a hot mess. She is so isolated, she's so alone, she doesn't have the love of her life after some things had gone like horrifically wrong. And it was just, it's still, we have these illusions that people who are famous or successful, like in quotation marks successful, actually still have their private lives that they're trying to like master. And if you could just see behind the scenes of some of these, influencers, I think we would probably stop giving them our attention and time.
Mm-hmm. What an interesting perspective. Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting for her because she was a super mega famous like silver screen person and be like actress, and she was, it was like she was so lonely. The only friend she had was like a maid, like some house cleaner or something, and yeah, it was so interesting. But
wow.
This is so, as a practitioner, like I can imagine Dolores would be like, oh my gosh, I would love to explore all of the details of the life, and she would have done a great job. She would have figured out, what wallpaper they had, and like all of the details of their lives back then. And I don't know why, but for me, it's like I'm always really curious about the relationships and the lessons that I mean. So was Dolores, obviously too, but it was like I always am curious, like how is this impacting them this lifetime? What is what's the correlation here? Because the subconscious will always show them really significant lives that are have got so we all have many 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 different lifetimes, and the subconscious will always show the most appropriate ones. And so I think get really fixated on the details of the connections of the emotions of how everyone's working together and the dynamics versus what type of car did you have, what kind of lifestyle house do you have, how much money do you think you earned, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, not that Dolores did that to the extremes either, but you can find incredible details in these sessions where the clients are like, why am I even making up this? And one of the things you're supposed to do in these sessions is take them to their homes and get them to go inside their homes and that they're living in that lifetime, and then describe it, and then look at a main meal. And it's so interesting, it's so abstract to be taking your client through this, because it's so familiar to them, yet it's so strange at the same time. Like,
Oh, that's so cool.
yes.
I'd never heard that.
So they go into you arrive in the scene, and then you find out what they're doing in that scene, because sometimes it can be their death scene, or it can be like it's their wedding, or it's something from and sometimes it's their birthdays. It's so interesting, you just don't know what you're going to get. And so then you sort of say, so in this lifetime, move forward and stand outside the home that you live in that lifetime. And so then you get them to describe it and stuff, and then they, how do you get inside? And then they tell you, oh, it's this door, it's red, and the handle is brass, and blah blah blah. They've got so much details to it, it really surprises them, because they're like,
Are they like, does it feel familiar to them? Or like, oh yeah, I remember this. Do they say anything like that ever?
and they don't remember it, but they know all the details, but it's confusing to them. Why do I know all these details? And so they feel like I'm just making it up. This is my imagination. But then you keep asking them, and they're like, no, it used to be green, but we just painted it last summer. Or like, they have all this details, but yet this is a completely foreign home to them that they know this lifetime. Even Dolores was saying she went to the street where she used to live in one of her lifetimes, and expected to have this like nostalgic, oh my gosh, I remember when. And she's like, it was completely foreign to her, even though she knows that she saw this whole street in her session. When she got there physically, she did not recognize it in her lifetime, but she remembered in the session seeing it. And that's true.
Hmm.
That is really true.
That's trippy. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
and I just want to say this client that I had the other day. So I had gone to her home, and she was laying in her bed, and we're in she's in Egypt a few times, and I look outside the window, and there is the house, and the house has got like three. There's like kind of like 90s homes, and so the architecture is kind of got like 3 points, and honestly it's like they would be reminded every day of the pyramids, because of the way that these house arches are, and these like rooftops are and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, like just sitting here in her bedroom and seeing all of these little hints of reminding and remembering. And ironically, she used to have a pendant with her own head on it, because yeah, it was so strange. The subconscious said the reason why she had that pendant was to remind herself of who she was, and that with power and influence and even being a symbol does not create love, and doesn't create the things that you truly do want in this world, and that she is free to be the person she wants, and she's free to have people hear her thoughts and feelings. And she, it was just like these sessions are profound. And
So cool.
yeah, so it is pretty
I
amazing.
love it. I love hearing all this stuff. And like Kitty, I'm like, Kitty, tell me everything about all your sessions, where they from, what's the vibe. I think it's the coolest.
Yeah, it's definitely for me like the journey of puzzles. pieces, and it's kind of like all putting it together. And this is the weird thing. While I know that the clients that I have, their scenes and their sessions and their lessons are really significant to them, you know, and that is, I mean, that's really why we do it, right? I feel like for my personal journey, I'm also getting the right pieces of the puzzles as well. And it's
Oh yeah,
complete
totally.
strangers meeting to hear this. And it's you know, we literally had just done the big sessions of your influencers who've got their own agenda, who are not really helping their followers because they've got limited information, or they're still obsessed with like the crimes against humanity or really dense topics. And then to find these people that are in my community who don't listen to any of these sessions, and then find out that they're trying to they tried in one of their other lifetimes long ago in Egypt to have a religious revolution,
Mm.
just blows my mind, because it's like, gosh, you know, the synchronicities of,
And it's Christmas time. I mean,
yeah,
hello, Jesus. I see
yeah.
you. It's the same thing.
So is it's just to remind us, and like the magic of Christmas. It's like, here I am, you know, trying to raise children that are not materialistic and that who love themselves, and you know, are proud of the way that they behave to each other, and they're really kind, but they also you know, get to share really well, and you know, all the things that, you know, every parent fantasizes that they could create for children, but without helicoptering them, because they need to have that duality to realize, you know, that they need to learn how to communicate and work well together, rather than me guiding every step of the way. Um, it's just, you know, they're so excited about Christmas, and I'm like, oh my gosh, materialism, here we come. And I think this is the reason why I didn't really love the it's not about the gifts for me at all. It is about us spending time together. And I mean, my children are completely like just gift feverish, you know, like they
Hmm.
super beyond. And you know, I guess that's, you know, the fun part of being a kid. You know, and I can't remember the last time I've got a gift, and it's awkward when you're an adult, because we don't need anything, you know, and to get given gifts, you know, it's like, I don't know, and that's definitely not something that um it's interesting. I feel like if I want something, I am more than capable of getting it for myself. And while I appreciate people thinking of me and wanting to treat me, it's really my responsibility to treat me. And this reminds me of people that still have complaints about others. And so it just reminds me of a few people I've been speaking to who still judge and still demand certain things from their friends and family. And when I say to them, well, why are you expecting that from them? Isn't this something that you should be giving to yourself? You know, and
Like what? What are they talking about?
love. You know, they're not feeling like they're being loved by certain people or respected by certain people. And so it's kind of like, well, okay, so uh, you know, ultimately, you know, if people mirror what we want and how we see things, right? So, um, uh, you know, when you're seeking out love and support from others and you don't get it from them, instead of always being angry and bitter with them because you're not getting what you need, this is a good opportunity for you to provide for yourself. And we're all capable as adults to provide for ourselves. And so, what are we still expecting from others? And is it really something that only they can provide? Or is this in a work still that we should be working on?
Option B. Option B. Yeah, it shouldn't matter.
And in terms of like loving self, I just wanted to say this because I'm wondering who else is also, this came out in a session, and I'm wondering who else does this. So the client was wanting to know about the foods. Is there good foods that they should eat more of? Is there foods that they should eat less of? And they had hay fever, and they said, "What's the deal with the hay fever?" And normally when people have hay fever or allergies, they're really like allergic to life. And they're just irritated to be here, and so just being here is annoying. This is what the subconscious will say. But this is really interesting. It said tomatoes, and I was like, "Oh, should she stop eating tomatoes?" And they were like, "No, she needs to eat tomatoes." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's going to help with the hay fever." I was like, "I've never heard that before." And as we were discussing with the subconscious, they said she's not fully loving herself as much as she could be. And some of the family members that she lives with, because she shops, and some of her family members don't like certain foods, but she loves those certain foods. But because other family members won't eat certain foods, she doesn't buy them, and she's missing out. And so she's honoring them. Okay, they don't want to eat this food, so I won't buy it. But she's not honoring herself, and they're saying she needs to start buying things that some of her family won't eat for her.
Like tomatoes?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it was really interesting. I've never heard that aspect before, and maybe I mean, could one say that she's got hay fever because she's just irritated with herself for not honoring her body? Or I don't know, like, I mean, that's a reach, but it's so intriguing why people are going through certain things, why their bodies are responding in certain things. I mean, Erin, are you currently doing anything that that you would like to do but you don't do because, say, your children or your husband don't like eat anything, or as a favorite meal you don't cook anymore because of certain people?
Honestly, no. Like food is like no, food is just not vibing with me right now. But no, I don't get any enjoyment out of food currently. But I can't. I was never really that into food, so no, not a very good answer. But no.
I mean, it's a good reference point. So scrap food, but are we still putting other people's needs first, and then sort of feeling a bit burnt out because our needs aren't being met by them? Because ultimately we need to be putting our needs first and being able to empower ourselves to then be of service to others, and not take from others and not demand from others. And if we're demanding love and attention and respect from others, you don't get,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get love and respect if you're demanding it in some regards. Because often when you're demanding to have things from others, it doesn't come in a loving way. Love me, respect me, like
Oh my gosh.
doesn't know.
I have a good example. So not food, but I would get so stressed out because I was doing so much. I would feel guilty. So wait, I would not take time for myself ever, ever. And because of that, I didn't like unwind. It wasn't a natural thing. Like I didn't, decompress ever. So I would be so worked up and I would feel guilty just taking 30 minutes out to like just be quiet and settle my mind. And I should have done that this entire time. And like in a session with my subconscious, he was like, I'm literally telling you have to do it every day. Take time out for yourself to unwind because you need to do it. And that's a good example of I should have put myself first and I didn't.
And so, if you had thought about putting yourself first, what would the feelings be if you'd even considered?
Guilt.
Guilt.
So guilty. There are so many other things I need to do. It's just selfish. I feel guilty. Yet I was enabling everyone else around me. So that was my lesson.
You'd feel guilty and selfish.
Yes.
And so, would you beat yourself up about even thinking about putting yourself first?
Yeah, I would. But really, I was taking it out on other people because I wasn't decompressing. So I was prickly cactus because I was not putting myself first. And it was just go, go, go. And, that turned into resentment at times. I mean, that whole thing.
Did you see people putting others first at that time? And how did you view them?
No, I mean, I was just enabling. I was just enabling people, honestly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So no, it was fully me. It was fully my issue. I should have taken time out.
When did you suddenly realize this was in your power to take time out for yourself and be in control of your own life?
Oh gosh. Well, since listening to this, oh yeah, it's a whole new ball game. This year to last year, whoa, what a difference. Because really it's my choice if how I respond. And that does mean being proactive with your mood and doing things like taking time out to decompress, finding hobbies that are like mind numbing in the best way, like coloring or crossword puzzles. Like I love puzzles. I sound 800 again, but little things like that so you can be proactive. Like it's the holidays. It's important to there's a lot going on. There's a lot of family stress, everywhere, holidays. I had 20 people over in my house like 2 days ago, stuff like that. But it's important to be proactive and on top of your mood. It's no one else's. Like, it doesn't matter how someone treats me. Like my response should always be balanced. And that's what I'm striving for. And I'm being more proactive about making that a priority.
So you're observing more, noticing more, and being present more, and not reacting to anything that may come your way that is just merely a reaction to the old Erin. Did you notice people were trying to treat you like the old Erin?
Um, I did notice something with my mother-in-law. She requested that we have Thanksgiving here. It was it was a lot of people. She was so worked up, and that is her inner work showing. But it was very difficult to be around her because she was like looking for things to be upset about, and then it was like irrational level of upsetness and ranting. Um, and I think she was used to me being just really irritated and anxious also, which is the old Erin. And when she saw, I don't know, it was like the longer she was over at my house, like she like flipped a switch, and then she was all of a sudden happy. And she saw me getting along with other people that, we didn't speak previously. It was like, no go. And she saw us getting along great because you know, we are now turned over a new leaf and all good and no resentment. And she flipped like in the best way. She was present. I saw her be really happy, and her mood completely changed. So in that way, yes.
I wonder if people, excuse me, I wonder if people still remember our not bad behaviors, but our old behaviors and reactions. And she's preparing herself to match your energy. And so together you could have been this, jiving uh, ball of anxious anxiety about
Mm-hmm.
prepping food and all this sort of stuff. So she came in to be, your partner in that. And it feels like when you were just very calm and balanced and just, going through it without the intensity, it actually calmed her down because she realized, why am I doing this old way? And it's so intriguing how, even though most people in your life are oblivious to all the private work you've done to empower yourself and find your balance and neutral, it must be very surreal to see them meet the new you and have this
Mm-hmm.
this new relationship with you, which mirrors you. And so therefore you are seeing your mother-in-law coming in expecting all this high anxiety, and she almost didn't know what to do with herself, and so she actually went into this balance and this calm because she actually saw some really amazing new connections and new relationships healed and mended, and actually getting on in a beautiful way. I mean, this is what everyone wants for these holiday experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. And, you know, my kids were so happy. Like everyone was just so happy, and that made me happy. Like my kids were, getting along with the other kids, and they've spent all weekend with people that, we've had strained relationships. I've had strained relationships with, or how to say it. So my husband's sister-in-law and I didn't firmly not get along, and she's the one who sent that gorgeous apology to me that I did not expect to get. It wasn't, not in my thought, not something I was holding out on. I wasn't I was just like, okay, well, that's not ever going to happen. Next. But she sent me that apology, and it was so heartfelt. And we've had a great weekend spending time together. We're not with each other 24/7 by any means, but I've seen her every day. Our kids have been playing every day. They're having so much fun. Like my husband is so happy. It's just a ripple effect, So it's, come on, these days are precious, and right now especially. So I want to really maximize it.
Your sessions, that we've done privately together were about, ironically, part of it was to trust the information from these sessions and see that there is tangible proof and evidence. And we work together in being able to send love and healing to all of the family members. And how that looked is profound growth and apologies where you never thought, like out of the blue. Like how many days was it when we asked the subconscious to reach out and help and understand where the other person is, to be able to give you the preference, the perspective of what's going on for them, because we all have our own story of how our relationships with our friends and family have broken down at certain times. We have our own advantage point, but the best thing about these sessions is that you ask and find out from the other person what's actually going on there for them, rather than us guessing it's X, Y, and Z. To hear it from the other side, the other perspective is always super helpful. And often it's never an aspect or a position that we've ever considered before. And so, you've got so much tangible proof that these sessions are doing what they're asking, what we're asking from the collectives and the subconsciouses are literally unfolding as we keep asking.
Yes. And then, two things with that. One, I want to say there's no more proof I need than my own growth. And I like, even if this whole thing is not true, even if, I don't know, this whole thing is just false and the subconscious I've seen and spoken to doesn't actually exist, like whatever someone may come up with as a reason this isn't true. The growth I am so proud of, and I am in the driver's seat of my life, and it feels really good. And I feel like my most authentic self, and it feels really good. So I wanted to say that. But then on the flip side, what I noticed is like with that family member, that in-law, like she's not on this same spiritual growth journey. She's not talking to the collectives like we are. However, there's some big growth happening on her end too, big time. And so it comes in different forms. I learned this week as tangible evidence as well. And it's great. Like I feel really proud. I feel really proud in general.
It would be pretty full on, I would imagine, to suddenly realize that she's been listening to the sessions too and she's grown at the same rate. I mean, that would be beyond, your wildest fantasies and dreams, because, let's get real. This information, this content and this information is very advanced. And this is not what you would start, finding. This wouldn't be your first spiritual journey station.
No. No.
You would have many stepping stones to get to this point to be ready for this. And, we've been always told that people who are not ready for this information will just not be able to hear it, because they will then have too much of a leap and they wouldn't be able to do their own personal inner work and stepping stones to get to where they are, to be ready for this information. So Yeah, that would be extraordinary if she had. So, and I do understand that so many people just wish and wish and wish that they had a family or friend member that they could talk about with this stuff, because it's just, it deeply resonates with them, but they want to verbalize it. They actually want to have a conversation rather than just in their heads. They actually want to have an actual physical conversation about this content to be able to get it out, to like formulate it, to figure out, have they missed any like aspects of it that they may be wanting to dive into more. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you don't have family members that are suddenly just starting to listen to this.
No, but friends, join the Facebook group, the Arcturian and Pleiadian. Is that what it's called?
Yes, the Pleiadian. Sorry, yeah, the Arcturian and Pleiadian starseeds.
Yeah, join that group. Talk on here. Talk on there. Talk about the sessions. Like, welcome, friends. Squad. Yeah. Like, yeah, let's get the conversation going. We'd love to chat. Love. Yeah. Lots of really cool people. Very. I really like the open-mindedness, the graduation from the light versus dark, that whole storyline. I like seeing people with mature mindsets and just outlooks, and it's a good group for sure.
It's incredible people that I've been recently meeting who are just so evolved. And I just think, gosh, it's just so humbling to just talk with them and connect with them. It's profound. It's fantastic. Oh, and what I wanted to say, while I know that some of this information about our future stuff sounds very, very full on and scary and doesn't make sense, whatever people struggle with it are in denial. The sessions themselves, when you're doing the past lifetime stuff, and the clients can get so much details from a lifetime that they've never been to that area, or they've never been interested in that history, or they have no real understanding of certain things on different countries and time frames and all this sort of stuff, but yet they get so much detailed information. This work is just so profound on each way. The future stuff's incredible, the past stuff's incredible, and what I want to say is, if this was just ego-based bullshit, then it would be yes, I was this massive icon, I was rich, I was famous, I was fantastic, I was a gift to humanity, every session would be like that ultimately, right? Or if the client, had a really small ego, it was like, I was just, pathetic, nothing, and like, it's, those other lifetimes are never like that. They're so profound, so fitting in so incredibly well into this lifetime and the relationships that they have with people this lifetime, and it's they're never so abstract, they're so, like, it's so complementary to the current lifetime, but it is so not obvious to the clients or even myself where we would be taken in these sessions. The subconscious knows perfectly, beyond perfectly, what needs to be presented to the clients. Of course, we have some people that are a bit scared that they're making it up, so they block themselves from it. And these sessions, if you're going to have a session, trust that you're not making it up. Trust anything that pops into your head. Share it with the practitioner. Trust nothing's going to happen to your bodies. Your bodies are laying there in a very comfortable state. Trust that the information, when you hear it back from sessions, will make so much sense when you trust and allow all the information to come out in the session.
It's so cool. Yep. I'm thinking about the sessions that we've had and I've had with you, and it's like my subconscious, well, obviously I love him, but I love looking back. I'm like, that's a really good strategy. Like, he wouldn't answer. It was very clear, like, what his strategy was. It's always to keep me focused, valid. But anything that could get me off focus, he just won't answer. And obviously my conscious mind, like, I want to know everything. I'm the one that wrote the list. So It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that. I'm like, there's always a strategy with what they're saying. It's never just like, oh, the strategy and the layers. It's so cool.
Your life contract was to develop a profound insight and trust into what is happening and why. And you didn't want anyone to give you the answers. You wanted to experience it and learn and grow from it yourself. And so you literally had a clause in your life contract: do not give me the answers to my questions. I will be begging you many times to.
There was no clause about not complaining. I checked.
And this is the thing, you're complaining to yourself about the core clauses in your contracts, um,
Yeah.
which is funny. And it's so funny because every time I talk to your subconscious, and then he's like, I'm so sorry, I cannot give this to you. And, first of all, I sort of thought as a practitioner, you would be the worst type of client to have for a beginner practitioner because they wouldn't understand, first of all, no other lifetimes here on this planet, because most of them don't really they all prepare themselves for other lifetimes on this planet. And so when the client just won't go to another lifetime because they don't have any reference point here, lots of clients and practitioners think, oh, it didn't work, you weren't relaxed enough, or something didn't happen. And so lots of the volunteers are classic examples of that, of not seeing anything or feeling anything, just feeling in this very they're everything and nothing space, which I sort of think is the ninth dimension, the black void. So yeah, you would be a beginner's worst nightmare, and I say it with so much love, because your subconscious is like, it's literally not in the clause. She cannot be told this information from us. She has to gain trust and connect into them directly and have guidance and learn from your intuition moving forward.
Yeah.
And any details they give you, you like somehow you get a piece of the puzzle, and instead of just accepting that puzzle, you're checking every little angle out of that puzzle to like scrutinize it, every little detail of it. And it's cute. You're
So
driven.
true.
You're driven.
I'm a handful. I know it.
But
I know it.
you're not, you're not a handful for humanity. You're wanting all this information to be of service for humanity. And so, you got that neutral. You've got that peace. You want to, this is what we discovered, and I wanted to share this with everyone, because I haven't talked to you about this, Erin. You are so deeply hurt and angry about influencers who are not sharing the bigger truth or the truth, and you couldn't understand why you were so bothered by it. Like, it irritated you deeply. And what did we learn together? That it's your heartbroken and hurtful humanity not being given the truth. That's your real sticking point. Not really that whatever the influencer is doing, you really care less of what the influencer is doing. Your heart is broken for humanity.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is. It keeps happening. Like, and I get really bothered when I hear that like volunteers like hate humanity. Like, what? Like, that really bugs me, because humanity, in my opinion, has been let down so many times, and influencers is just like the icing on the cake for that, in my opinion. And right now, people's life contracts, were to guide people to the bigger information, be it, truth or community, spiritual community, like whatever. That's what they were supposed to do, but then got like stuck along that way. And like, my heart does hurt because people are so confused. And this is why influencers existed to begin with, to like lead the way. And they're, my heart is broken. And that channeling you did last, like, dude, about letting go of resentment towards influencers, like, that was totally about me. Like, I was feeling very resentful, very bitter, very bothered. And my heart is broken because it's people are so good and genuine, and there's so much disinformation, like so much fear-based bullshit. And come on, guys, let's go higher perspective. Let's show people the way forward. Come on. And my heart's just kind of broken by people who got lost along the way because influencers decided not to fulfill their like contract, or got lost, or whatever the case may be. It's like humanity deserves better.
So this is when Jesus wants to come in, and he wants to say to you, Erin, that you have to love everyone as if they are small children, and that they are not aware of what they do. And you are such a giving, compassionate person, and you want to embrace all of the world's children, and you are hurt because you see that there is so much pain, there is so much disconnect, and you love the details of how there is this disconnect. And I want to say to you, it's disconnect from love. It's just that simple. And humanity hasn't evolved from love. They don't know how to love. And so, while you are hurting for humanity because of these choices, of these influences, you have to love them. You have to love all. Not because it's a task, not because it's a pressure, but because you want to love all and have compassion for where they're at. And you know that disconnect and frustration that you had with those influences was impacting you. And we were wanting you to see why. You're not angry at those influences. You're heartbroken for humanity. And what's going on for humanity is that it can't love itself. It hasn't seen its own value. It has been distracted, coerced. But because it didn't have love for self, it could be distracted. It could be coerced. It could be doing fake praying. It could be doing a whole lot of stuff to numb itself from its self. Now you have identified why you are so eager to help humanity, because you feel humanity's pain. You were humanity. You are humanity. You have stopped and grown, and you're looking back and realizing how much pain you had. And you never even realized how much pain you were in. And everything you did was to show the world how much Erin hurt, and how much Erin scared for her children and her family and her friends and her co-workers. You're loving yourself. You wanted to protect the world, and how you protect the world the most is through loving them. Don't judge them. They're judging themselves. And while they are on their journey to stop and realize how much they're hurting, judging them is only going to make them distracted even more. And you know the profound connections that you have when you love others and drop your judgment, drop your assumptions of who they are and what happened and why the disconnect. You've honored yourself and forgiven yourself for being hurt. You were the one that held on to the hurt, and you realized it wasn't serving you anymore. Love is contagious. And in these coming times, people will feel more and more and more loved with each other. Love themselves. The frequency vibration is barely impossible to not feel that frequency of love, which is annoying to many who do not want to feel love. They do not want to feel happy. They're happy in their density, and that is all they want. They want to be victims. They want to be limited. They want to complain about others and why they have lack. But the more and more and more the frequency vibration is forcing others to drop their crap and notice what's really important. We've almost stripped away your old identities, your old working positions, your finances, your identities. We've brought everyone to a really humbling state. This may look different for many people. But when you're so distracted, what else could we do to help you? Pressurizing you, triggering you, having epiphanies is all part of it. There's so much we could say, but we want you to know that most of you are doing such great jobs, and yet you still are worried you're not of value. You're still worried you're not of service. Just that worry itself can take you offline and densify you. Be in love. Be in love. Be in love. Oh.
Oh, wow.
If we could just, I think, if we started looking at those people that we're still struggling to find compassion for, if we just view them as that child that got originally hurt, then we can have compassion for them. No one really deserves being hurt by others. And it's incredible how much people will hold on to that one event and will never let that go. And yeah, there's so much. We have to let go of so much emotion that doesn't serve us. We have to forgive and love. Love, 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 love.
Wow. Wow. I'm kind of speechless.
He just wants to
To say so right.
it's like he just wants to say he still loved the people that killed him. Because, you know, they were just following orders. They didn't have the courage to stop. They didn't have the courage to do what was right, because it was following the, you know, the peer pressure, and they knew if they didn't do it that they would be in trouble too. And so that's the extreme, like, maturity level factor right there. I mean, you know, it's pretty profound. But then, you know, you could have that perspective if, you know, when you truly trust and believe in reincarnation. You know, most people would be killed and then would have to have some healing time to, you know, have that perspective. Here he is walking, knowing that he is going to be crucified, and he already has forgiveness in his heart for them. He's so impressive.
I know. He gets me every time. Well, duh.
Yeah, as a he's so impressive. And I'm sure there are so many others that were exactly, you know, the same, that had that bigger perspective, that walked this earth, that knew that we were all being so distracted with things that really were just not growing. Yes, it's experiences, it's all fantastic, but when we're on that journey of soul's growth, um, you know, this it's kind of like the death of the 3D, the materialism, the physical. The 3D lives are physical in how we perceive our physical world right now. And so when you are ready to have that maturity and expand and evolve to what truly does matter, the soul's growth, the physical possessions and materialistic stuff just mean literally nothing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I'm still speechless. Oh, what a perspective that I never considered. Oh, so right.
So, um, I feel like we've been talking forever, and I just want to say to you, I know that what came out of the session recently about your grandmother who is living is your current guide who is assisting you, and you're really, I know that that feels strange that even though she's living, she's still guiding and a guide. So the subconscious is a guide, and even though they're living, they're not on this planet. And you know that you have parallel lives, and I know it's trippy for you to understand how she can be your guide and still be living in her body. Her body is a 3D version. The guide is like her advanced version, not her higher self, but it's something else. Um, and there is no time that we would perceive it in a linear fashion. And so she is just being your guide because she is having her life contract wherever she's at in what we would perceive our future, and she's reflecting back on her life. She keeps popping in to see how you're doing because it fascinates her how you've learned this information and how you've got the balance and how you're applying it. This is must seem so hysterically crazy for people who they've shifted and they realize what's happening. They go back to have a look of who even knew this was happening, and they would be given information of X, Y, and Z. People know this, and they would be exploring and going in and observing you, knowing this information as you do, and still living in your 3D world, and still having to, fold the washing and all this sort of stuff. This is a marvel to them. And from wherever the future perspective of them viewing you now today is, they've got their own higher perspective of it. So they can be a guide to you. If that, did I?
Yeah, and I have a story to tell you. I think I told you this. So like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or so, um, I had a general practitioner's appointment on the schedule, and I just like got distracted whenever I was going to cancel because, I'm not, yeah, I didn't have any reason to go. But I was like, well, I'm not going to be a jerk and no show. So I'm going to go to this appointment. And I had a fantastic appointment. It was just a great appointment. Like, you know, went off all my medicine. My readings look great. I was joking with my doctor about the holidays and stuff like that. It was very low stress. And I realized I had that appointment. So my grandmother could see the other end of the spectrum to what she's currently going through, as it was, I feel like it was for her to see that because it's an imprint. They said she was imprinting what I'm going through.
Wow. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And you would have, from your doctor's perspective, you're like like a medical miracle, right?
Yes. Yeah. She was like, your vitals look really good. I told her, I was off all the medicine and feeling great. I mean, like she was fantastic. She didn't pressure me. She didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up. None of that stuff. And she was super happy. She was like, wow, okay. Yeah. Well, I guess you don't need to come back in, but great to see you. It was very high vibe. I mean, And I had no idea why I was going to that appointment, but I was like, well, maybe I need to, tell my doctor no, maybe that's why I need to go in case she brings it up. But I'm like, oh, I'm not going to not go. Then I was like, it was for her.
So you're going into a professional, you're owning your truth, you're owning your own journey, you're not afraid of being peer pressured into, having something else that may not be for the best of your body or your good. And you stood up and you release yourself from these diagnoses and these medicines. And, I didn't even know about that. And nor that nor would I have given you any right information. You did this all on your own, and I felt like when I first met you, it was almost like you were using them as crutches because you trusted professionals,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was your big. Wait a minute, I'm in control of my life. Why would I trust professionals given what I know now?
Yeah. Yep. And I'm in the driver's seat, and it feels really good.
Yeah, it's incredible. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna before we go, I'm gonna share one Christmas miracle that's happened in our house so far. Um, Kind of a big deal. so, um, just because I feel so mind blowing with the sense of Jesus before. Anyway, so my children,
Yeah.
they love their toothbrush routine, blah blah blah, but they don't like minty ones. They don't like the minty flavors. It's too minty. They say. Well, they say it's too spicy, too minty, and so we have like different kind of fruit flavored toothpastes, which makes me feel like it's more like a candy, which I'm a little bit dubious. But anyway, and so they just discovered as we were going through all the Christmas crap that there was some candy cane, some super minty candy canes from probably like 17 years ago. And so, of course, they were just like, oh, we'll just try it. And then we were like, well, okay, sure, like how wrong could this be? And anyway, and we were like, oh, it's really minty, thinking, they're not gonna like it since they don't like don't like it in their toothbrushes. Anyway, Christmas miracle, they love mint, and so now, hello, we're going to be able to have some minty, fresh toothpaste.
Minty fresh breath. Oh, awesome.
Christmas miracles.
Christmas miracles. Oh, the exciting lives that we live.
I know, my goodness. Oh, and you know what? It was kind of sad to remember. Like we had stockings for our dogs, and so it's like, oh, just to,
Oh,
the loved ones we've lost this year, even though they haven't gone anywhere. It's like it's a really beautiful time to reflect. And I could have been, my partner could have been like, oh, last Christmas you ruined it, you bitch, because of your crazy bullshit that you believe in. Like, he didn't say anything. And we just got excited about, the spirit of Christmas and getting excited for, what's to come. And, I know that we've been told certain dates for the shift. And I am enjoying the rest of this year. And, if whatever happens, happens, I can't control it. I can't create my reality apart from my mindset of choosing my emotions and how I'm going to react to certain things. So I feel that we are going to stay here for Christmas. We're going to enjoy the year. And, I can enjoy it because I'm allowing myself to get excited about, just putting the tree up and all this sort of stuff. I'm not living in worry and concern about the future. Do I do it this year? Do I not do it? I'm not even pissed off that I felt like last year our Christmas was robbed because we never shifted and I never prepared to have a Christmas because I was 100% on board with everything that we'd heard in sessions. And I learned lessons from that. Doesn't mean that I just distrust the information. I fully trust the information, and every time I've got like hung up on a certain detail, it's always my disconnect and not being able to put all the pieces together versus them trying to trick us.
yeah. Wow. What a year, huh?
Incredible. Okay, thank you very much. It was good catching up with you.
You too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.